All right, welcome everybody to the Exes podcast. I'm Scott.
I'm Therese.
And we are the Exes, and we're here to talk about being exes and still being friends and living single. And of course, if you're going to talk about exes, you have to talk about crime too. Because in this world, there's two ways relationships end. It's by becoming exes or becoming dead. And it's true. It's true. There's so much murder going on. If you never want to get murdered, never get married, and apparently never go to college. But we'll talk about that in a little while. It's just really scary. But anyway, today is Wednesday, January 25th, 2023. We are 25 days into a new year, and I've been expanding my diet and trying to do a little bit more on my healthy living and doing a little more outside exercise kind of stuff, like doing some work on the outside of the house, trying to do a little bit of that. So it's like everyday kind of exercise, moving around. And I know you've been making progress on the stuff you wanted to do, haven't you?
Yes, I've been going out and about by my little self.
And what kind of exploration? I know you went to the Barnes and Noble.
I went to the bookstore one weekend. I went to this little coffee shop last weekend. So it was nice. It was fun.
It's a little bit of exploring too, to like places like that. Little coffee shop isn't a place you normally stop anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean, if I saw it, it's a little out of the way. It's a little hidden gem, I guess. So it was fun to go find it. There was a little park nearby, although it was cold and rainy that day, but it was cute.
Speaking of cold and rain, we were joking before we started the show today. Teresa's up there in a snowstorm, a snow event, not really a storm. And,
a snow event.
A snow event. And I'm down here, and I had to leave the office a little early today because the air conditioner's out, and it was just too hot. So dealing with two totally different problems. Being in the North Country and here down south. Sandy's with us saying hi, kids, and thank you for joining us.
Hi, Mom.
Yes, Mom, Sandy, Mom. I'm never quite sure how I should do that. It's just Mom. That's it. That's it. It's just Mom.
Ma.
Yeah, my number one fan. That's like sad, beyond sad.
No, it's sweet.
It is. It is sweet. And what we're also going to talk about today is we're going to talk about kind of living single and being over 50. We'll start out with that before we get into our crime talk, but you definitely want to stick around because this crime we're going to talk about today is it kind of caught the whole nation, and it's moving very quickly. Everything is happening very quickly, unlike some of our other ones that we're going to revisit that are moving at the speed of snail snot. It's just so terribly slow.
And isn't it interesting? They're in the same state.
That's true.
How, like, it's weird. It's weird.
And one seems even more open and shut than the other one, but the one that seems like it should be a no-brainer is taking forever. And the one that looked like it was going to be unsolvable is like moving amazingly quick. So
yeah, it's crazy.
But we'll talk about that in a minute. I found this quote, and I really like this because we talk about it. There's a lot of people out there, Therese. We're not the only ones who have gotten a little bit later in life in their 40s and 50s who find themselves alone. And I saw this quote. It said, "Being single isn't a problem to be solved. It's an incredible opportunity to create your own happiness."
That's
I like
true.
that quote.
Yeah,
I like that.
That's a good one.
I mean, because it was hard at first, but, you start to discover certain things. What are some of the things you discovered about kind of embracing, hey, it's not bad to have your own space and everything? What are some of the things you've figured out?
Well, I mean, simple things, just kind of having my own space and not having, I can have my girly pink room. I can have anything I want for dinner. I can have popcorn if I feel like it. I don't have to worry about feeding anybody else except Coco, but she's easy.
Yeah.
And just kind of being able to just relax in my own space and with my own thoughts and not really have to check in with anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
No offense.
No. It can't take offense by this. I mean, I've got this. Of course, I've got a list because I always.
Of course, you got a list.
These are the top 12 things that make being single good. You know,
Okay.
now, it doesn't mean you don't want to. You definitely want to have friends and you want to have people in your life. I even went as far as to this past weekend. I have adopted a kitty cat. I now have a cat. I have a living being in the house besides me, which is kind of cool. And his name is Jonesy. His real name is Sir Jack Jones, but he has renounced his royal title and has come here to the States to live with me as Jonesy.
As Jonesy.
Yes, he's a redhead, just like the other putz who renounced his title. But we won't talk about him.
Have you watched that special?
I have not. Have you?
Yes. You should watch it. It may change your mind.
Yeah, I mean, I just you're one of the most powerful families on the planet with untold wealth, untold status, and you walk away from that.
But really, he doesn't have untold wealth because it's all controlled by his father. He can't get a job where he wants. He can't live where he wants.
Mom is tuning in. She's saying it's a wonderful cat that I have.
Mm-hmm.
She insists when I go to work, she lives in the same neighborhood I do. She'll come down and visit the cat during the day just to make sure Jonesy doesn't get too lonely.
But he's a cat. They're supposed to be alone.
Thank you. Hello, solitary animals. The only problem with Jonesy is, I mean, it's great. Most of the time he's just off doing his own thing, and then every once in a while I'll come over. He'll want to play with me. We'll play with it for a little while, and then he'll be like, he'll stick his ass up in the air, say, "I'm done playing with you," and he'll walk away, and then he disappears for a while. But I did wake up with him on my head this morning, so that was a little disturbing. That was a little disturbing. No, but I will have to look at that because Harry and Meghan leaving the royal family to me was a bit strange. But I heard there was a lot to do with like racism and stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Watch the Netflix.
I will watch the special and make a judgment from there. Meghan Markle, I love her because I used to watch the show
Suits.
Thank you.
Yes, you love her so much that you remember the show.
Well, no, I love her so much I remember her, but not the show. She was really good, and beautiful girl, and just kind of awesome. But I looked at her, and I didn't look at her and think like overly ethnic of any way, shape, or form. I mean, she just seemed like a woman of the world, like kind of could fit in anywhere.
Yeah.
So for people to have some sort of judgment was very strange. But I guess the royal family, they're a little uppity, I guess,
A little, yeah.
I mean, you're going to make fun of her and you're not going to make fun of Prince Charles's ears? Come on. A good wind, he could fly across the pond like to the U.S. without those ears. Somebody in the royal family knew somebody in the royal family. That's all I can say. Those are freaky ears. All right. So number one reason it's good to be single at any age, but certainly at an older age, is you can kiss anybody you want. Now, well, I know I read that one too.
Kissing a lot of people.
I can't think of one.
I mean, knock yourself out, but what the heck?
I guess it's just kind of the thing. Like, if I wanted to, I could kiss that person. Of course, then I would also, have to deal with restraining orders and everything else after that. But there's no compromises. No compromises on what you're going to eat or what you're going to do, thing like that. You just, whatever you decide to do, you do. You can spend money the way you want to spend money. If I want to buy a little something that's stupid, I get to buy something stupid. And then I have to yell at myself for doing it. I don't want anybody else getting upset. Your friends are your family. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And, by the way.
I do still have family, but.
We still have family, but your friends can become even more important.
Yeah.
My friend Gary, I do live out loud. We're going to be on next Monday night. He had his guitar stolen. You remember that? Temptation?
Yeah,
it got returned.
I saw that.
They returned the guitar.
And a friend of his had his guitar stolen and got it returned also?
Yes.
Awesome.
Somebody, all those social media, please They really paid off. Somebody went back to the restaurant, left it on a table in the restaurant, and walked away. And
Cool.
that's all fine. They kept. They also stole a tablet and something else from him, but he didn't care about that.
You're right.
He was just happy to get the guitar back. And one of the things he mentioned was that the strap was on a different size. It was refitted.
Yeah.
So obviously somebody tried to play it and didn't like it.
I didn't like it.
Number 5, the whole closet to yourself. You don't have to worry about
Oh, that is true.
Yeah, because you used to hog the whole closet.
Oh, yeah, I did. Mm-hmm.
No, that's
I had a fight for space. All right, your clothes can't go past here. And then the next day they'd be creeped over and creeped over.
You know what? They did it themselves in the night.
Mm-hmm.
They decided they needed more space. So now I've not only got that closet, but I also use one of the spare rooms too.
I have 2 closets too now.
Oh, do you use them?
Yeah.
It's nice, isn't it?
I have 1 closet for my work scrubs.
You could travel whenever or wherever you want. Of course not. You've got the dog and I've got the cat, but
Yeah.
still. TV and radio channel, TV channel, no debate.
No
When
debate.
I watch something, I watch it. And, I could watch zombie movies 24 hours a day.
Knock yourself out.
And I know you'd never like the zombie movies. You know what I realized? Living alone watching zombie movies?
You don't like
Not
it
a good idea.
See?
I hear somebody walking down the street and I'm like, oh shit, here they come. The zombie apocalypse is coming.
What was that?
The zombie apocalypse. Let's see. Well, you could. This really doesn't. You can pass gas whenever you want to. It's not like you walk around saying, "Well, I wish I could just pass gas." No. You get to decorate the way you want. Now, you mentioned the pink room. You get the pink room and all that stuff.
That's true. Yes.
And pretty much what you see behind me on the wall, that's pretty much the whole house now.
Yeah, that wouldn't have flown.
Just paintings and guitars everywhere. You learn to enjoy being by yourself. You actually enjoy those moments now. You can, and until you learn how to do that, it's not. I don't suggest you do spend any time with somebody else until you get to know yourself and like yourself. I think it's important that people do that.
Yeah, I think that's true.
You could devote time to your passions, which again, I play a lot more guitar. I paint a whole lot, and do other things like that. And of course, you can learn about yourself. That's the big thing, is learning about who you are and what you're all about. But, these are all positives. And I'm not saying it's wonderful to be single all the time, but it doesn't have to be a terrible thing. I think a lot of people are so wrapped up in I have to have somebody. That so many people end up with the wrong person or in a relationship that they're fighting. There's so much work. It's like, why does it have to be that much work? So
yeah. Just had somebody go through that. Like, it shouldn't be this hard 2 months in. Well, no, it shouldn't.
No,
2 months in, it should be wonderful, right?
So why is it? And is that what
you want? Anymore.
Oh, it's not anymore.
No. Tis not anymore.
Yeah, I think people need to really just allow themselves to be okay.
This is probably the longest. I want to say this is probably the longest I've been single, and since I was 28.
Wow. Well, I know for a fact this is the longest I've been single since I was probably 14. So, and I'm not joking about that. I always felt like I had to have somebody, and somebody had to want me, and I had to have all that stuff because I thought I put too much value in that. And that's a hard thing to break. But once you start to break it, you start doing this thing where you're just like, do I really want to go through that right now? Do I really want to do that right now? Although, again, I love meeting people and interesting things and stuff. It's like, you find so much. And I'm not saying, hopefully me, we find the right things and things work out and we do that. But, avoid the whole trap of just being in a relationship just to be in a relationship. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. You're right. I mean, so many miserable 2 months. 2 months. 2 months. You should still be dancing every time you hear their name.
I know, right? Yeah.
I mean, my God,
Yeah.
that's just horrible. Gives you the opportunity to value yourself. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
Learn to value yourself. And to embrace your passions like crime.
Yes.
Now, are you still obsessed with like watching crime shows and stuff?
Yes. Yes.
Now, like podcasts,
Every
TV
chance I
shows,
get.
everything.
Every chance I get.
Everything.
I only pause for The Bachelor, which started Monday, by the way.
Which that qualifies because it's a crime that show is still on.
And I do watch A Million Little Things, but that's not on yet. The new season's not on yet. So those are like the only like regular shows that I may say no.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Survivor.
Oh, Survivor, but it's not on right now.
But it will be. It'll be back soon, right?
Yes. Yes, I do watch Survivor, yes.
Yes. I even watch repeats of old Survivor sometimes just because I miss it. And, got to have a little Jeff Probst in your life, right?
Yes. Never a bad thing.
Never bad. Never bad. Something else I heard that you might find interesting is there's a big shakeup at the Academy Awards. Did you hear about this?
No.
Like the Oscars and stuff?
Yeah.
There's enough people now where there's been enough turnover in people, and there's been enough people that are just kind of like newer school people that are involved in the academies. The Academy Awards have always looked down on movies that make a lot of money in the box office.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you got these blockbuster movies, the Avenger movies, the Star Wars movies, whatever movies there are, whatever movies are the big movies, the Mission Impossible movies. They never get a real opportunity. What's that?
Fast and Furious.
They never get an opportunity, and here it is. It's like, but they're making $1 billion freaking dollars.
Mm-hmm.
What movie just came out? Made $2 billion in the first weekend. It was just crazy. Whatever
was it the Top Gun?
Maverick? No.
Yeah, I know it wasn't Maverick.
Although I saw that. Did you see that yet?
I know I didn't see it, but I heard it was good.
It's really good. It's really good. And the one of the kids in it plays Goose's son.
Oh, cool.
So that kind of ties the whole thing together.
Yeah.
And they even had Val Kilmer on there, and it was like pretty cool.
Yeah.
Although Val Kilmer
he doesn't look like Val Kilmer anymore.
No, he Mickey Rourked himself to death. It is not a good thing. And the cool thing is that he plays his character Iceman, but he certainly looks older, but he looks terrible with all the plastic surgery he's had. But Val Kilmer is truly suffering from a throat disease. And they actually put that into his character.
Oh, really?
So it was kind of like a nice, nod. But what they're saying this year is they're saying these films, like Tom Cruise, should get a nod at Best Actor for being in a film.
I just don't like him.
I'm not a big fan either. I mean, he's like, apparently his parents never heard of Ritalin. He just jumps all over the place. He gets all wacky. The Church of Scientology. I'm not even going to go there.
Yeah.
But
I see what you're saying.
But if they're making all that money, why aren't they able to, why can't they capitalize in the awards?
Yeah.
And every year we got these movies, these big movies. Everybody goes see all these big movies, the Batman movie, this movie, that movie, the Avengers, and then Parasite wins, a movie that's not even in English that nobody saw in the theaters. How does that win Best Picture? What the criteria? They're changing that. So now it's going to be much more involved in commercial success should not be a deterrent. And they're even looking at Angela Bassett as Best Actress for her role in the movie Wakanda Forever.
What?
Which is a Black Panther movie. It's a Black Panther movie. But she does an excellent job. So I'm just saying it's a nice change to have that movies that people might have actually seen will win awards. So it's just something a little different. Let's see. South Carolina attorney is now on trial for murdering his wife and son. That is I was looking at that case. Yeah, the father killed his wife and son. The lawyer, I can't think of his name right now.
Oh, the Murdoch.
Murdoch, yes.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
they selected his jury. They finished jury selection today, I believe.
yeah, he's on trial now.
Yeah.
So obviously people were flipping over to crime talk now. Um,
Says mom.
says mom. Mom says, listen, enough of this shit. Let's talk about crime. I'm glad you guys are alone. That's fine. You're happy. Shut up and talk about murder. This is my family. We're weird. We are weird. And let's see. So let's move on to what we were. First of all, let's give a quick update on our favorite couple.
Oh,
This is
Lord.
Mr. and Mrs. Personality themselves. Lori and Chad Daybell, or known as Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell, but they are married, who are being charged with 3 counts of murder, along with a myriad of other charges, and still possibly other murder charges coming. But the murder of two children and his wife. So 3 murders right now on the table. Other charges of obstruction, tampering with evidence, and all around just being douchebags. They're getting charged with that too. This has been going on now. We were talking. This is the one that's been going on for how long now? When did those murders happen?
3 years.
3,
I think
maybe
we're going
4
on
years
3
ago.
years. I think we're going on 3. I think we're going on 3.
3 years, and the bodies were found 2 years ago. I think that's how it works. But anyway, they're finally getting around to it, and the trial. Well, tell us what is going on with our lovely couple there.
What is going on? They were in court together recently. Chad's lawyer wanted a continuance for his client for another year, and judge said no.
Well, he was claiming he needed time to do his own DNA testing.
Yeah, well, that's a straw he's pulling at.
Yeah, and the judge just did not accept it.
No.
Okay, all right.
The consumption DNA, which is what they were discussing, has been taking some time. So the judge did advise the prosecution to get the state lab to get moving on that, because they've had it for like 5 months, 5.5 months.
Yeah.
And they have no results. So they don't even know if they can get a DNA information from it. So they need a report. Either it's going to be some DNA as evidence or it's not.
What do you know about this DNA crap? Because
DNA crap.
No, because it's like in the real world, watching this trial, it's like, well, the DNA's been sitting there for 5 months. We need another couple of months, and it takes a year to get it back. But if I'm watching NCIS, with Mark Harmon and Paulie Perrette there, and he brings her DNA, and like after lunch, he's like, I got the results of the DNA, boss.
Yeah, I know.
Does it work that fast? But
God bless you.
Sorry, DNA in my nose.
I mean, I don't think I don't know. I don't know how long the actual testing. It depends, I guess, on what the sample is, right? If it's a good amount of blood, then it could probably get done pretty quickly, right?
Right, I would assume.
Yeah, but this is like a hair they found, and so with a hair, you have to have some of the root that has some of the follicle on it in order to get DNA off of it. And there may be something they have to go through before they can decide if that's going to be useful.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah. So it's not as fast, but also they should have at least the answer of yes, we're going to have evidence, or no, we're not by now. They should know that by now.
I would think so.
But they're claiming they're backlogged and overworked and not enough people and blah, 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 blah.
Now, the judge is also saying, right now it's April 3rd is when the first phase of the trials begin. The judge has made the statement that they are to remain separated and not meet before now in the trial, which to me, his lawyer kept saying he wants to separate the trials anyway.
Yes.
So but now they're upset that they can't meet. Well, if you were going to have separate trials, why would you want to meet anyway?
Well, no, it wasn't his lawyer did not agree with that. It was Lori's lawyers
Oh,
that were
lawyer's lawyer.
asking
Okay.
for that. They were asking, she wanted to have a meeting to strategize about a plea deal, is what they were saying.
Oh.
And actually, Chad's lawyer opposed that. He's like, I don't want to have a meeting to strategize. And he didn't care if they had the meeting or not.
Hey, Gene Ritchie's with us. Hi, Gene. How are you? All right.
So they didn't want that. And the judge denied it anyways, because there's too many. If you have two prisoners in a room with their lawyers and then guards guarding them, then that's all people not involved in the one case that are listening to all of the information about the case. And they're not sworn to lawyer-client confidentiality.
Apparently, she wanted to meet to plan a new murder.
Probably Rob would.
What if she could? I also see it this way: is I assume the prosecution, because it's one prosecutor, right? It's a team of prosecutors.
Well, it's a team, yeah.
But it's one team of prosecutors trying the two of them.
Yes.
And to keep them separated, you're more likely to get one of them to cut a deal. If they keep talking to each other, they're gonna remain more united. So I can understand from the prosecutor's point of view why this is a big win, because as they get closer to the trial, one of those guys is going to start sweating. And I would certainly bet. Oh, hey, Mary Kay's with us.
Hi,
made it late. No problem, Mary Kay. We're giving the update on the Chad Daybell and the Lori Vallow case. I would bet that one of them is going to fold before the first day of trial.
Who do you think it's going to be?
I think it's going to be him.
I think it's going to be her.
Oh.
I think she's starting to. All right. So, So his lawyer was saying all these things in court that, they want separate trials, that Chad's defense is not going to be the same as her defense, that there may be things. He was implying that they were going to use things, kind of throwing her under the bus in order to save him, right?
Right, yes.
So now she sat in court and listened to this and heard this, and her husband, from most reports, barely glanced over in her direction, and she was trying to get his, eye contact. So I think now he's humiliated her in court in front of all these people. She's a big revenge person. I think she's going to plead out and testify against him.
Well, seeing as everybody who's ever met these two have died, I'd say she's pretty good on the revenge thing. I wouldn't want to cross her.
No.
Yeah.
They were trying to get the death penalty overturned, not against her, but judge said no.
There you go. Jeannie's chiming in from the beginning of our conversation. Single over 50 is awesome. No drama. Your own money, your own space. Any fur babies you want. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
And Mama's, like I said, murder. And Mary Kay's agreeing with you, Therese. She will protect herself. So I guess you guys are chiming in that she's probably going to turn first. I think only because I think he's much more intelligent than she is. Not like he's smarter than her, like Guy's smarter or anything like that. I think he's much more calculating. She's much more vicious. And I think his calculating nature will try to find some legal way to twist this all on her. That he was under her control and this and that. And that it was her idea to kill his wife. And I have a feeling he's going to be going through all of this.
Well,
just got a feeling.
Well, that's probably what their defense strategy is going to be. Except, how do you explain the bodies in your backyard? How do you explain the tools with blood on it that they got out of your shed? And how do they explain the fact that he was the only one in the room when his wife was dead?
It's because she was pretty. That's the defense. Chad Daybell's going to stand up and say, "Look at her."
Well, apparently without her hair dye and her Botox, he's not finding her too much attractive anymore.
No.
Because he ain't checking her out.
She's starting to look a little bit like Mickey Rourke and Val Kilmer there. She's a manipulator. Yeah, absolutely she is. But so is he. Understand, he was running this whole cult based on the idea that he died and came back to life and now is a direct conduit to the afterlife and to God and to everything else. And so he was a con man. She's a manipulator for sure. He's a con man for sure.
Yeah.
And I think we have to throw in there that there's also, what is the legal term for that? Yeah, that's right. They're both batshit crazy.
Yeah.
I do believe that is the legal term. So anyway, we will keep you apprised of that. I have a feeling that the months of February and March are going to be very interesting leading up to April 3rd. What do you think the chances are that the trial will start on April 3rd? I know the judge has put their foot down and done everything.
Well, I think for her, it has to start on April 3rd, because if they can claim in the appeals court that she had the, she didn't waive her right to a speedy trial. So she needs a speedy trial, and it's already been delayed because she was incompetent. And then it was delayed a little less than a month just because of Chad's moving into Ada County. But that was a request, so I think they can kind of ride that one out. But the penalties for her not to have a speedy trial are worse than Chad claiming that his defense was incompetent or he didn't have the DNA testing.
Right. All right. I just have a feeling something's going to happen. One of them's going to start squealing and the brakes are going to be put on there while they try to sort it all out and come up with deals. Well, so I think that might happen.
If she makes a plea, then obviously she won't start a trial. And that would definitely delay his, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Gene, need to laugh. Help me out, Scott. Okay, well, we're talking about murder.
I know, not much laughing here tonight.
I will tell you that when Therese just said she was incompetent, I thought she said incontinent. And I thought, well, I think I'd probably be incontinent too if I was being charged with murder.
She doesn't seem to sweat it, though.
She what?
She doesn't seem to sweat it. It doesn't seem to be bothering her.
Crazy people they're not affected that way. She obviously has.
He seems much more somber.
She has no empathy for anybody.
No.
I mean, first of all, anybody that kills kids, I mean, there's a special
especially your own.
There's a special place in hell for that. Mm-hmm. And I certainly believe that. But to have absolutely no feeling, no regard for that. It's not like, I mean, she did this and then was vacationing in Hawaii.
Getting married in
Hawaii. and just laughing. Yeah, there you go. That's because she's a psychopath. She is definitely a psychopath.
She's definitely a narcissist.
Yeah. Gene says, I'd be freaking. Yeah, of course. Normal people would freak out when there's this much stuff going on around them. You have to be a certain kind of crazy. Now let's talk about
a certain kind of crazy.
Let's talk about being crazy. So now we're dealing with something new. And this is a case that came up. Let's see. What are we calling this? We're calling this the Idaho Murders, the Idaho College Murders. And it was at the University of Idaho. 4 kids being age 20 and 21, 4 of them.
I don't think they were all 20 even. I think someone was 19.
Let me see. I got their picture here.
20.
Okay. Yeah, they were all 20. Ethan Chapin, Kaylee Goncalves. Okay, we're gonna go with first names here because I got Chapin, I got Goncalves, I got Kernoodle, and I got Mogan. Ethan, who is 20, Kaylee, who's 21, Zana, who is 20. Is it Zana?
Yeah.
All right, Zana, Zana. You say potato, I say potato. And Madison, 21. All right. These 4 students, friends and students, and 3 of them were housemates. Ethan was visiting Zana, who was his girlfriend. Those 4 kids had what we would call a normal college day filled with college football, going out to a party, hitting a food truck or the grub truck or whatever they called it, having a normal day and probably a little bit of partying back at the house. And then they were in the wee hours of the morning, they were all stabbed to death. So this is what happened. Do you have the dates of when this all occurred?
No.
Okay, let me see. I got them right here.
It was before Thanksgiving break.
It was November 12th. It was November 12th. That these 4 college kids were murdered. They were in a house. Now, the house that they were in is I guess you'd just call this like office campus housing. They rent a house or they rent apartments off campus.
Yes.
But it's close enough to the campus that it's considered the campus area.
Yes.
And there's 3 floors on this house. And this isn't the best picture of the house, but at least you can see a little bit of it.
That's the back of the house, correct?
This is the back of the house.
Yeah. Okay.
It had 3 floors. The first floor is actually beneath what you're seeing there because the front of the house slopes down. So the first floor had 2 girls on that floor. The second floor had Zana and Ethan on that floor. And the third floor up top had the other 2 girls. And the thing is that this November 12th, this early in the morning, when this killer came in and killed them, did not bother with the 2 girls on the first floor.
Yeah.
Which
Don't
is
know.
strange.
Yeah, it is strange unless he just didn't realize that there was another floor down there and that they were down there. But then one of the girls did see him leaving.
Yes, she did. She actually said that she at I forgot what time it was.
4 a.m. or something.
4 a.m. Something around 4 a.m. She actually saw a guy with a mask, all dressed in black, walking down the hall towards her. Now, it was very unclear whether he saw her or she just peeked out and he never saw her, but he walked directly past her and out the door.
Yeah.
This was after she had heard screams and noises upstairs. Not screams so much, but noises.
No. Yeah. Crying, I guess.
Yeah.
And she thought she heard noises, but she had, 4 other people up there. I'm sure they always heard noises in the house, right? You've got 4 people living in one house.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. She said she was actually, it was 4:12 a.m. The roommate downstairs, the one that was not hurt, she heard what sounded like crying from one of the victim's bedrooms and heard a male voice say, "It's okay, I'm here to help you," or "I'm going to help you." And then at that point, she saw it. She looked outside the room, and it was a few minutes later, she saw the man walk right past her. She was frozen in fear. He walked right past her and went out the door, sliding door. Mm-hmm. So he went up and killed those 4 people. Now, this was like just horrific. People were absolutely, I guess, okay, she said he had bushy eyebrows. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, that's a lot. Not a lot to go on, but I got bushy eyebrows.
She was able to say he was tall, he was thin, he had bushy eyebrows. Yeah.
Yeah. So then it was later that day, she actually went and hid in her room, and it wasn't like she called the police right away. It was hours later.
Yeah.
Because she was afraid. Now, then the police come, and what they saw was, and I don't have the details of the autopsy report, so I don't know for sure how many stab wounds there were. But apparently it was one of the bloodiest scenes that most of these officers had ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Were you hearing the same things about
Mm-hmm.
that?
Yeah. And I think the stab wounds are like in the double digits, like in the teens or 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was a violent attack, but also well orchestrated. To be able to kill 4 people without them alerting somebody else, killing Ethan and Zaina, Ethan and Zaina in the same room. That's a very difficult thing. But
the other 2 are in the same room also.
Oh, they were in the same room.
Yes.
Okay. So they were in the same room, but
one of those 2 girls was set to move out. She had gotten a job offer and she was moving, and she decided I guess most of her stuff was already moved out, but she wanted one more weekend with her friends at the campus. Yep. So she was supposed to be gone. Ethan really wasn't supposed to be there.
Yeah, these are the kids we're talking about here, and there are kids. Now, here's a frightening photo. This photo was taken now cropped out on either side. There is a girl standing on the left and a girl standing on the right that have been cropped out of this photo. Those are the 2 roommates who were in the bottom floor. These 4 that are seen in this photo are the ones who were killed. And that photo was taken. That was the last photo taken of those guys, or at least purposeful photo taken of those guys. That day, it had happened that day. They were at a football game together. They spent the whole day together, and not knowing what was, oh my God, just kids. They are just kids. And years ago, Richard Speck did the same thing to nursing students in their apartment. Richard Speck was monstrous. Who was the other one who?
Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy. Yeah.
Sorority house in Florida, in Jacksonville, I think.
Yes.
Something like that.
If serial killers are on the loose long enough, they all move to Florida. I just want you to know
that. Yes, they
do.
do.
They catch a lot of them down here.
Yes, they do.
I don't know what it is.
Apparently, Idaho is the new.
You spend all that time killing people. You got to take some time off and get some sun. We should not joke about this, but because there is not a light side to this story. Now,
no, this one's sad.
Evidence at first was pretty scarce, except, it was scarce, but it wasn't, because the murder weapon was found to be a K-bar. They have not recovered this weapon itself. This is what a K-bar looks like. It's a military knife. But what they did find at the murder scene was the sheath from the knife. And on that, they found a partial thumbprint, I believe, right?
I believe it was a partial thumbprint on the snap.
And blood. And it was the killer's blood. One of the things when you're stabbing people is many times, the attacker will cut themselves in the process because it's such a frenzy. So they did find some blood on that sheath that belonged to the killer. But then again, now we're getting into DNA. Do we got to find somebody? People don't understand. DNA doesn't mean it like the computer pops up and says, "Oh, it's Bob Smith from down the street." Their DNA has to be in the system for them to figure this out, right?
Somewhere, yeah.
Now
it has to be in the system.
What are Mary Kay says? Move to Canada. There we go. Too cold. What are some reasons you would have your DNA on file?
Well, a lot of people, people that sign up for Ancestry.com or 21andMe, blah, blah, blah. That DNA, you sign a release that your DNA is on record, on public record now. And then if you've committed a crime, they would have your DNA on file.
So if you're a criminal and you're hiding, don't do Ancestry.com.
No.
Oh my God.
But they didn't find,
didn't you do one of those?
Yes. But they found his father.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how they found him.
It's newer to DNA and not used very often, but it's a whole new wing of DNA. It's called familial matches. And if your DNA is not in the system, but let's say your brother's or your mother's or your father's is in the system,
or a cousin,
and it can even go as far as aunts and uncles and cousins. I don't know how far it can go, but
I don't either.
There
I
could be
know
enough.
cousins though.
There could be enough markers to say that there is a high probability in the 90th percentile that the killer comes from this family. And for a while they didn't believe in that, because it's like, well, now we're like, we're like narrowing it down, but you're not being exact.
Right.
But that's really how they ended up catching this guy. That was the biggest thing.
Well, they also had the car that they were looking for.
Right. The white Hyundai Elantra.
Yes.
Which actually was, they would have found the car faster if they identified it properly from the tape. They identified the car on the tape as being a 2012 to 2013 Elantra. And it was actually a 2015 Elantra.
Yeah.
So it kind of screwed up their search a little bit, but not much. And then you'd be amazed at how many white Hyundai Elantras are out there in the world.
Yeah.
They had a ton to look at.
Well, it was very good of that security guard at Kohlberger. Is that his name?
Kohlberger. Yeah.
Yeah. The security guard at his college actually physically went through their employees' listings of the cars, because he thought that he had seen it. And so so then it was registered to him, but then it had different plates by then.
Right.
He had re-registered it.
Because he was, Brian Kohlberger, the suspect that we're talking about, was a student, and he was a PhD student for criminology at University of Washington, which is about 15 minutes. Washington State, thank you. Yeah. Yes. About 15 minutes from this other school, Idaho and Washington.
Like 10 miles away.
Yeah, they're right there. And he was also a teaching assistant there.
Yes.
So he was listed under staff with this car. So when the word went out obviously into a very large area about white Elantras. And
I heard about it here.
And the security guard was like, well, we got somebody here who kind of matches the general description of, tall, thin guy, with a white Elantra.
Yeah.
And he did turn that in. It wasn't looked at immediately.
No.
Because
so many.
There was a few things that were different. The original had Pennsylvania plates. These had Washington plates.
Yeah.
But he's from Pennsylvania, and he just got it registered in Washington. And also because they thought it was a 2012, 2013. This was a 2015. They still put it in the stack, but they didn't look at it quite right away yet.
Right.
And what ended up happening was they got this. This is actually funny. Brian Kohlberger was traveling back to Pennsylvania for the holidays. His father flew to Washington.
That's really odd
to drive back with him, and they got stopped twice.
Yeah.
In like a 10-mile stretch of road.
Yeah. In Indiana.
For traffic infractions. Yeah. And neither time were ticketed. The police talked to him. They got him on body cam once. And they were acting perfectly normal. I mean, it's not like a couple of murderers on the run. The father apparently had nothing to do with this. It was but he just happened to be there. But they were going back to his home in Pennsylvania, which is eventually where they arrested him. It was at his home in Pennsylvania. But what ended up happening was the DNA came back with a familial match. It matched his father. And so then they started going through, and they noticed the car with the registration in this guy's name was in a stack of white cars. And now it's a familial match to his father. They started putting all these pieces together. Then they were able to get his cell phone records.
Yes.
And this was to me, this is like really like slam dunk.
Yes.
It was recorded in that neighborhood, pinging off the towers in that neighborhood, which unless you're going, there's no reason to be in that neighborhood. And actually was picked up on the Wi-Fi in the house several times.
Yeah. So that means he was close enough to the house.
He was like in the yard or just on the street from that house. 12 times before the murder ever took place over a period of a couple of months.
Yes.
What does that tell you, Therese?
That tells me that he was pretty much watching. I'm assuming watching the girls. And I think he's got a problem with women. I think he was rejected by one of them somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
And I think he was watching the house to plan his attack. I
Now,
mean, I don't think it's a secret that it was a planned out deal.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. It was very well planned out.
Well, not well enough.
Not well enough. But this is I'm sorry, looking in this guy's eyes, it's hard to sit there and say, well, maybe he didn't do it. If you look at serial killer handbook, those are the eyes you're supposed to make when you're a serial killer. This is Bryan Kohberger. Now, again, he has been charged. He has not been convicted. He has been charged.
Yeah.
He is in jail awaiting his court date, which apparently will be in June.
Yeah, funny how they can have it in June.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. Well, I think that is his where he's going to say his plea. It's not his actual trial.
Yeah, well, that's where the trial. It's basically that's where everything starts. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's been a plea put in place or anything yet. I think it's still he's now being held, held for trial, or for whatever the arraignment. Yeah, but this is a case. Now, this gentleman here, Bryan Kohberger, was a heavy kid when he was young. He was a little pudgy. He was awkward. He got picked on a lot. He was bullied a lot, and girls didn't like him. And he became very much a loner and everything else. This is the part that scares me a little bit. He became obsessed with the TV show Criminal Minds.
Oh, really?
That was why he went into criminology.
Ah.
He was obsessed with Criminal Minds. He was obsessed with criminal behavior. He got a degree from DeSale University in outside of Philadelphia in criminology, and was going to Washington State for his PhD in criminology, and had actually gone to the point of doing online interviews with killers and criminals, trying to figure out how did you feel when you did these things.
Yeah, he put out a survey.
Yeah, these surveys were very, very strange. Yeah, Bela Lugosi eyes. Yeah, that's what they are, Bela Lugosi eyes. So he was studying criminology while he was obviously obsessed with hurting people.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm assuming it was some kind of fantasy or something.
Yeah. Now, you said that it's possible that he got rejected by one of these people. He was obsessed with one of them. But there is
multiple girls.
Or multiple girls, yeah. There's no connection to that yet. They are looking for that. But what is obvious is that he was particularly interested in that house, in that group of people. And he planned it. They have records of his car leaving Washington State at about 3 a.m. and returning about 5 a.m. the morning of the murders. So he was gone during that time. And they could ping his cell phone every minute for the past 6 months, except for the 2 hours during that murder, because that was the only time his phone was ever turned off.
Yep. Off or in airplane mode.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So people think it's smart to turn your phone off. But if you never turn your phone off and you turn it off for that period of time, it's a little suspicious.
It's a little red flag. Look at me.
I imagine he's sitting in a cell right now saying, I should have asked those questions. I should have interviewed about that stuff.
Yeah.
So we really don't know. This is one of those horrible things where, again, these were 4 brilliant kids, beautiful kids. Look at them. Life in front of them. The families have come forward, and not all the families have gone on record, but I know at least one of the families has gone on record saying they would like the death penalty because that is in play in Idaho. they don't, his appearance, although he did seem uncomfortable in the courtroom, he did not seem to be to show any empathy or anything towards
No,
the loss of these 4 people.
no. Now it's interesting that both of these cases are in Idaho.
Yes.
And so they have 2 huge cases they're dealing with. But this one happened in November, and we're already moving up to his, claiming guilty or not guilty in June, which they did delay for some reason. His lawyer asked for it to be pushed out to June because it was supposed to be sooner.
Yeah.
So it looks like this is moving along. They got the DNA report in a month.
Yeah, they got that quickly.
And now the other case is 3 years or a little more. And they still are saying they don't have full DNA.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
If the murder happened November 12th, November 13th, let's say by the time they got the knife sheath to the lab, it had to be probably several days of paperwork and different things. So let's say somewhere probably around November 18th or 20th, the lab gets the knife. And before the end of December, they had the familial match. They even moved forward and got other search warrants based on that familial match for cell records and everything else. They did all of this in about a 7-week period.
Yeah, and when was he arrested?
He was arrested on December 30th. December 30th. And the funny thing is he said, bring me back to Idaho. I want to clear my name. He waived. He could have sat in Pennsylvania and waited for extradition.
Yeah.
You can't just take somebody from state to state. You have to get extradition and stuff. And you could fight extradition. You could do all that. He says, no, I want to go back there and prove my innocence. And he did everything as far as being calm, cool, and collected as somebody who didn't do anything wrong. He did all of that right on the afterward part. But he made some real mistakes at the beginning, and especially with all those cell phone pings.
Yeah.
Not that I'm rooting for him to get it right. It's not. I don't want people to think that.
Right.
But it's just amazing how they have to how things happen. Mary Kay has to run. She's got a Clubhouse gig. Great show, Therese and Scott. Thank you, Mary Kay. Thank you so much. Join Mary Kay and I tomorrow night for The Life Between All or Nothing at 7 p.m. Quick shameless plug. Right?
Quick shameless plug.
Shameless plug. So this murder, although it seems it was so horrific. I mean, just horrific. The ending of all those lives, 20 and 21 years old, 4 people. For what I can only assume is the reason that this guy was a lonely, messed up person. And I gotta wonder again. This takes me back to: were there signs that this guy was mentally unstable? There had to be signs of this throughout his life. And did people ignore it? Did he hide it really well? What happened?
Yeah, I don't know. But there have been some old classmates that said he had changed from, like, if they knew him in middle school and then saw him in high school or college. Yeah. He had changed a lot, lost a lot of weight, had changed a lot. The one girl said she ran into him at a wedding post high school years, and he looked a lot different. He really only talked to her. He didn't mingle with the other wedding guests.
Yeah, I saw that. That was a girl who was actually kind to him in junior high when people were picking on him, and then met up with him. But the fact that she said he was in a room full of people and would not interact with anybody.
Yeah.
These are things that, I want to point out that if you see somebody, I'm not saying everybody's going to be a killer. That's not the case. But a lot of people out there are very sad, very lonely, have a lot of health issues, mental health issues. Don't ignore it. Don't assume that they're going to be okay, because in more cases than I want to even think about, they hurt themselves or they hurt somebody else. So if you know somebody who is suffering from that kind of depressive episodes and being that withdrawn from the world, maybe you need to say something. Teresa, your thoughts on this? Because I mean, you work in the medical field, and you see people a lot who have a lot of issues and stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Definitely should say something. Get them some help. Get them evaluated. Something.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, we've blown through our hour.
We did.
It's crazy. If you want to learn more about this case, there is a 2020 special on the case, or not 20, sorry, a Dateline special on the case. I believe it is being carried by Hulu. If you want to look it up, it was just done in December or January, actually. I mean, it was done in January, so it is fairly new. It'll give you all the ins and outs, and look for it. We'll keep you apprised of course, our friends, Daybells and the Vallows, our friends, our good friends, and we'll let you know what's going on with this case with the College Town murders.
Yes.
Any final thoughts?
Have a good evening.
And don't kill people.
Tonight. Don't kill people.
Don't kill people. Don't kill people. I want to thank everybody for joining us. We'll catch us again in 2 weeks. We'll be back on the 8th. What is the next month? February.
February, yeah.
I was going to say March. I was going to skip February this year, people. See how that works. We'll be back on February 8th with more stories and more about being exes, and certainly more on crime.
Yeah.
But for now, I want to wish everybody a great evening. If you want to have yourself a good day, make sure you do 2 things nice for yourself, 1 thing nice for somebody else, and it's a guarantee to have a good day right there. And thanks for joining us. We will catch you next time. As soon as I find the bye-bye button, here we go. There we go. Now we can wave. Bye-bye.
Hello.